All right, welcome everybody to the very first edition of The Line. I'm Joe Gomez.
I'm Mike Mills.
And here we go. The first topic we're going to be talking about today is the NBA playoffs. Now, the big series that are going on to most people would probably be the Miami Heat and the New Jersey Nets. Now, Miami has a big lead on New Jersey. Do you think New Jersey has any chance, Mike?
Short answer, no. Long answer, no, because they don't have enough athleticism. They're deep, but besides Pierce and Garnett, nobody's got any experience at winning.
Well, that's a really good point. What do you think about Deron Williams? He has advantage on Chalmers at point guard, right?
He does, but this isn't 2010. This is 2014, and he hasn't been that Deron Williams in quite some time. You saw they tried to push it with Joe Johnson at the end of the game the other night. They don't have a leader on offense. They have plenty of defense, and they've got plenty of weapons for the duration of the game, but when it gets down to the end, the clutch time, they don't got it.
That's a good point. So they're closing out tonight.
They might. I could see the Nets getting one more, but they're not. There's no way they get the series.
All right. Well, moving on then. The other big series we had that had the big game was Oklahoma City and the Los Angeles Clippers. Your thoughts on this?
This one you don't want me to talk about, really, Joey. This one I should leave to you. What they did with Zach Randolph in the first round. It might be a little bias on my part, but after those calls last night, I really feel like the NBA's got Durant in their pocket. They really want him going on at least the next round. It's been a great series. It's sad to see the refs make decisions at the end of the games that decide games, but you got to live with it. Clippers probably ain't going to come back though. 2 games, it's going to be rough.
So even with the Sterling controversy, previously we talked about this before, and you thought maybe the league would be leaning towards the Clippers because of the Sterling controversy. Now you think it's the other way for Durant and the MVP?
Well, I think they're picking up public perception. I think a lot of people are a little tired of seeing Sterling get talked about. They think he's reaping benefits from being talked about, which is probably accurate. It's never bad to get publicity, even if it's bad publicity. But with LeBron, Durant, that would be, do they really think the Clippers are going to beat the Spurs? Probably not. They don't want the Spurs there.
Oh, yeah, that's true. They don't like the small market teams, and they're always bored with the Spurs. But speaking of the smaller market teams, we also have Washington and Indiana going on. Now everybody left Indiana for dead, and they thought Washington was going to overcome them. So what do you think? Is Indiana win this series?
I don't know. I think, after Gortat went Moses Malone on everybody last night, putting up 30 and 15, I think it was 31-16, but yeah, big-time numbers for playoff. I think they could pull it out, especially with Hibbert playing like a guy who's never seen a basketball before in his life. He can't get points, can't get boards. No telling what's wrong with him, but it's right for Washington to get to that next step, but I think they'll just be the Portland of the next round where they're the baby team getting spanked by the team that's been there before.
All right, and speaking of the San Antonio Spurs, who are my personal favorite to win the title, and they're going against the up-and-coming Portland Trailblazers, does Portland have any chance at all to win this after being down 3-0?
No, I think the Spurs close it out. They definitely need the rest. They're the most veteran team out there. They know how to win. It's just if their bodies will let them. And they realize how closing this series out early will help them. So they're going to get it done, I think.
Well, definitely, I agree with you there. Duncan, Parker, Ginobili, and the whole rest of the team are just ready to do work and get that last legacy win.
What about what's going on in baseball? Have you been keeping up with Tanaka and Darvish?
Oh, Darvish is a machine. He's just been killing it lately. He almost got a complete no-hitter there, and with that weird fly ball rule, I don't know what's going on with that, but Darvish is for real.
Yeah, he's real good, and Tanaka's been looking steady since he's been over here. I think they both could have a decade of dominance, barring injuries or anything like that. They really look strong. But speaking of injuries, have you noticed all these pitchers that are going down to Tommy John surgery so early in the year?
Yeah, absolutely. It's weird. Normally, just a few pitchers the last few years have gone down to these injuries, but it seems more and more that it's becoming more of a trend.
Yeah, I think. Do you think it's due to so many people coming back so healthy from it and basically pitching the same, so people are just quick to pull the trigger on it so they can get it done, or do you think it's advanced so much to where it needs to be done, or should they fix anything? Are there any problems before they get to majors that are causing it?
Well, yeah, definitely. I think the kids younger on, they're starting to specialize in sports so much and just do one sport year round, and they're throwing pitches they really shouldn't throw because their arms aren't developed for that yet. At the younger age, you should only be throwing a fastball and a changeup, and that should be it. And I actually recently heard them talking about going to a 6-man rotation, but I think this would be a big mistake because I think part of the problem is the pitchers aren't throwing enough with the pitch counts and everything. They don't let them go through their natural flow. I'm actually more in favor of the old 4-man rotation. What do you think about that, Mike?
That's interesting. I mean, if you go back to the day, I mean, there was a lot less injuries there. The injuries that happened were more devastating, but there was definitely fewer injuries to big names back in the golden age of baseball.
Yeah, before the pitch count and everything, all these guys are going complete games all the time, and there wasn't even relievers. Now you're telling me that we have better medicine and better training. The guys can't go as long? How does that make any sense that we're going backwards?
Yeah, it's just, they definitely need to spend the money and figure out what's happening because there's definitely too many injuries coming from, early age pitchers. These aren't the veterans with the old shoulder injuries we used to see. It's the elbow, and it's always young guys, it seems like now.
Yeah, that's weird. Speaking of injuries, getting into wrestling, the current WWE champion, Daniel Bryan, it was just reported he has a neck injury that he'll probably be out for. What do you think they do with the title, Mike?
Well, it'd be interesting if he can't wrestle. They'll either have to, have some sort of 3-way or something with the top contenders, or a tournament, or who knows. They have a wide open options that they can go to there. It'll definitely be interesting, but the WWE's happy that Daniel Bryan doesn't have the belt around his waist anymore.
Well, not officially yet. They haven't taken off, but you'd think they would definitely go to that point. What I find interesting is if they'll try to wait it out and maybe see if he can come by quicker. If not, they'll definitely have to do something. And they've only been running him against Kane lately and putting all the other big names in the Shield versus Evolution thing. So what are they going to do to break that up? Because obviously they'll either need to pull big stars up from existing feuds or create new stars. Where do you think they go with that?
It might be time to Bo leave, Joe. It just might be time.
Bo leave, wow. I'm not sure if he's ready. I don't even think he's debuted in the Raw ring yet. But with Cena in the feud with Bray Wyatt and that not closed up yet, Cena is normally the logical choice to be the champion, almost obviously. And with Randy Orton and Batista, who are the other top contenders, they're in the same stable now, and they're both heels, so it'd be weird to put them against each other again now. Don't you think?
Yeah, but I mean, that's why I think if they do end up getting the belt off of them, a tournament might not be the worst idea. I'm not a big fan of Big E's, but they obviously are, and he just freed up, from being the Intercontinental. He's not really involved in anything. They have a slew of young stars that they could push through a tournament type situation or a rumble or, however they decide to crown the next champion if they do strip him.
Yeah, it's too bad Brock only wrestles a few times a year because you'd think it was natural after his big win over The Undertaker that they would bring him back for the title. But because he's so part-time, if that happens, it probably wouldn't happen to SummerSlam. But I'm looking at maybe a guy like Cesaro, who they've recently been pushing and talking about a lot. That would be definitely a dark horse for that. And there's a few other guys, too, and there's always the ever-present rumors of CM Punk maybe coming back. Do you see him coming back at all?
Well, with the Cesaro thing, that's interesting, because he's represented by the same guy who ended the 20-0 streak, Paul Heyman. There's a 1 now, and he's representing him now, and he was also the Andre the Giant winner. That's definitely an interesting pick. With the CM Punk thing, the WWE's where it's at with wrestling. If you want to make any money, as far as real money, as far as superstar money, that's where you have to be. If he wants to continue living in Chicago, which is a pretty expensive place to live in if you want to live nice, he'll be back in the E, I almost guarantee you.
I've heard a really hot rumor, actually. You know how much I love independent and Japanese wrestling, that Kenta has been training with the WWE. Do you think any chance that Kenta gets brought up to the main roster?
Well, he's technically already won the belt twice in the last 3 years with his movesets. So it wouldn't be beyond the realm of possibility because he's obviously a good wrestler. If the two best wrestlers in the last couple of years for WWE both basically stole their entire movesets from him.
For those who are not sure what Mike is talking about, we're talking about the Go to Sleep from CM Punk and the running knee attack by Daniel Bryan, both major moves used by Kenta.
Their gears are eerily similar, too. I mean, they're different color schemes, but they're wearing the same type stuff.
Well, yeah, that's very true, too. Obviously, he's got a lot of influence from that. And we're going to the other topics now. Just kind of a miscellaneous kind of thing to touch on. I just saw an interview. The Black Keys look like they have a new album coming out. Thoughts?
Well, it'll be, I think, their 100th album. I wish them luck. They've made some really good songs in the past. It's definitely probably the best two-man band I can think of, because I really can't think of another one.
Yeah, there's not too many legitimate two-man rock bands out there, and the last album I really enjoyed a lot. I actually heard they're going back more to a rock sound from this, because they got away from the guitars with the last few albums, so it should be an interesting listen.
And I've been keeping up with the NHL playoffs there.
Oh, yeah, I tried to. Obviously, Mike, you know my team's the Detroit Red Wings, and ever since the Red Wings were put out in the first round, it's been harder for me to follow. I like hockey, but I'm more as a Red Wings fan over being a hockey fan. But I did just see that I believe the Penguins were put out by the Rangers.
Yeah, they were down 3-1, and the Rangers came back, or the Rangers were down 3-1, came back, and Lundqvist just does not lose Game 7s. They got to the Game 7, he's closed it out. It'll definitely be interesting going forward here. There's some good teams in the hockey playoffs. I haven't been keeping up with it as much as I'd like, but it has been some good stuff there. Been a lot of close games and a lot of series that went the distance here.
Well, the Penguins were my favorite left, but now I think I'm definitely rooting for the Canadians, because they're the only Canadian team that made it in the whole playoffs. So they haven't won the Stanley Cup in so many years, and it's their game. So, I mean, that'd be nice to finally see them win one.
It would be nice. They got a big game tonight against Boston. The winner of that will be going on to see the Rangers, and it'll definitely be an interesting Eastern Finals there in the NHL playoffs.
In the world of racing, Jeff Gordon has won the most recent race. I know neither of us are big NASCAR fans, Mike, but we know who Jeff Gordon is. The Rainbow Warrior has been around ever since we were kids. Any thoughts on it?
I wish Danica Patrick would do Playboy. That's my NASCAR thoughts for the day.
Well, she did finish 7th, which is her all-time highest thing. So, congrats, Danica, on that. Maybe you can actually win a race one of these days.
It sounds like you're going cuckoo, Joe. It's time to talk some football. You got any thoughts on the draft?
Oh, the draft. Oh, that is our in-studio cuckoo clock. It is our unofficial mascot. But yeah, the draft was great. The biggest surprise to me was Bortles being picked 3rd and being the first quarterback taken over Manziel in Bridgewater. I totally didn't understand this, and it totally seems like a Jacksonville move. And quarterbacks, just with that name, it just has Gabbard 2.0 written all over it. You have a silly last name, you're not going to be a good quarterback.
I definitely agree. This was definitely not the draft to take a quarterback in the top 10, maybe not even the top 15 or 20. Manziel's a hit or miss. He's either going to be healthy and be good, or be injured and be bad, or a mixture of both of those. But it's a very thin line there for him to succeed. Really, besides him, none of them are really worth the first round. And even him, with those injury questions, if he can't stand up, he wouldn't be worth the first round. So it was definitely a weird pick by them.
Yeah, Manziel, he looks to me like it's going to be like a new RG3. Like he's going to have those big plays, but he's just going to be so susceptible to injury with his body frame and his play style. And to be honest, I mean, I don't really like the guy. He's not very likable to me because the Playboy lifestyle and the money flash thing. I mean, I'm not going to wish bad luck for him, but I definitely won't be rooting for him. I think the Texans actually made a really good pick picking Clowney. A lot of people said they should have took Johnny Football #1, but Clowney is like once in a decade talent. I just think you have to go with that if that's available.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a defensive and trenches draft with the offensive linemen that went in it. But have you been keeping up with the Andre Johnson situation? He had an interview at a charity event he was doing, and he wasn't even basically asked if he wanted to leave the team, but from his answer, it definitely didn't sound like he was happy to be a Texan.
Oh, yeah, he brought it up on his own, basically. He just said, you know, I don't want to be a Texan. I don't want to be a Texan anymore. I think I belong in a more winning team because obviously they're a rebuilding kind of team. So if I was them, I'll try maybe to see what we could get for Andre Johnson. In the world of football, though, I mean, all these great players have been traded for like 4th-round picks. Could you imagine giving up like a 4th-round pick or later for somebody as good as Andre Johnson?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see which teams go for it. The Browns could use some receiver help. There's a lot of teams that could use them out there. With the show coming up close to the end of the show, I want to make sure we get the bold prediction from you for the future season of the NFL before we go, Joe.
Well, my bold prediction is always Lions will make the playoffs and win in the first round. You, Mike?
Hey, that's definitely a bold prediction there. With mine, I'm going to have to. Well, I can't